Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Success Beyond Scales webinar, where we are delving into topics beyond just losing weight and keep checking it on a regular basis. The whole premise of these webinars is to provide empowering education. Because if there's one thing that I can emphasize, it is information can create transformation. So, with that, friends, I want to welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for this. I probably want to say that the third last webinar of this year. As you may be aware, that we put in a lot of effort in picking up the topics for these webinars, and we also want to use these topics to be able to serve the specific pain points that individuals may be facing who are on a journey of lasting health and wellness. So today's topic is about accountability, and why is this the one key ingredient to lasting weight loss success? And we want to make all of these webinars very practical. Of course, me telling you theory is not going to be of much help unless you actually have somebody to relate it to. And that is the very reason why we always try and get a special guest for these webinars who would be able to share their personal journey, how they overcame those doubts, fears, the ability or the desire to procrastinate and take the easy path or the easy way out. So, with that in mind, and I'll also present some scientific evidence to you. So, with that, let's begin today's webinar. And sorry, let me just get this technical issue out of the way. I want to start by sharing with you a quotation by one of my mentors, Bob Proctor. Bob, he's not a medical doctor, he's not a surgeon, but he is a personal development guru, and he had a profound impact on my own life in terms of how I live life, how I approach life. So Bob is no longer with us. He passed away a couple of years ago. God bless him. But he left an indelible mark on how I was to approach things and share it with my clients and my patients who put their trust in me. And I think if one thing that he said about accountability, which was so critical, was that it is the glue that ties commitment to results. And I think that's what we are going to be talking about today. Just by way of introduction, my name is Dr. Arun Dhir. I'm a gastrointestinal surgeon, and I see myself as an instrument of service. I want to be very clear that the purpose of these webinars is not to promote surgery or to convince you to have a procedure or anything of that description or to try and sell you something. Not at all. The whole premise of these webinars is to be able to provide you with information that you can take you and also to encourage you to ask us questions. Now, before I progress further, I want to bring in my co-host, Monique. Monique is our coach. She's a healthy habits coach. And I want to invite her because she's been an integral part of not only the Success Beyond Scales webinars, but also the Genesis Masterclass, which follows on 2 weeks, exactly 2 weeks after the Success Beyond Scales webinar on a similar topic, but it is a deep dive into the practical aspect. So welcome, Monique. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Great to be here. I'm excited to listen to today's presentation and to meet Sonja towards the end of this.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I guess today we are going to be talking about why accountability matters. And by the way, just some housekeeping rules before we start. If there are any questions or comments you have, please put it in the chat box. Monique is going to be kindly monitoring that chat box, and we would definitely endeavor to answer those questions that you have. I think accountability is critical because we know that knowledge by itself is not enough. There is plenty of knowledge available now. Like you've got Chat GPT, you've got so many AI applications and agents, as they call it, that are available to you that you can get knowledge by just asking a verbal question and you will get the answer rattled out to you. I think the challenge is when we want to translate that knowledge into action. That's where I see the real challenge. And I'm going to share my own personal challenge here as well with you so that you understand that, nobody's immune to it. We are all sort of, vulnerable. We are all facing the similar challenges, maybe in different spaces. And I think accountability is also critical because it provides a structure for getting feedback so that we know whether we are on the right course or not. In aeronautic engineering, and I haven't studied a lot of it, but I've read books around it, the flight path is a constant feedback mechanism when an aircraft is flying, and it's all about course correction. That's the term that they use. It's all about correcting the course so that the aircraft is avoiding any misadventures on the flight path and reaching its destination in a timely manner. So that's what accountability does for us. I won't go into the details of scientific evidence, but what evidence shows, scientific studies shows that if you just have an accountability partner or somebody who is checking in with you, just one person, you are 65% likely to be more successful. However, if you are also doing regular check-ins besides this, your success rate goes up to 95%. Now imagine this, 95% success of you achieving your long-term goals. Now, once again, another quotation which is very important over here for all of us is by Peter Drucker. He's not a doctor, he's not a surgeon. He is an economist, again, no longer with us. But what he said was something so simple. What gets measured gets managed. You want to improve your finances? Start taking a measure of it. You want to improve your relationships? Start taking a measure of how you can start keeping things like scorecard and all that. And we'll talk about this in a moment. Start measuring. You want to improve your health? Start measuring it. So that's the first thing. It matters to everybody. Whoever's on a journey of achieving lasting weight loss success, and I don't like to use the word weight loss necessarily. I think we're not trying to just lose weight. Let's call it we are trying to gain health. How many of you agree with me on that? Can I just have a show of hands? Shall we say that you're wanting to just lose weight or actually you're wanting to gain health? Yeah, gain health actually feels so much more empowering, right? We just feel that, wow, that's the journey, that's the destination that I'm heading towards rather than trying to run away from being overweight. So, regardless of whether you've had surgery, you are on medications, you are on a diet plan, or you're just wanting to build some healthy routines, accountability is the centerpiece. That's what is going to allow you the ability to actually understand how I can tie my commitment to my results, as we just saw in the initial thing. One thing that I've seen regularly with my patients is this: weight cycling. Weight goes down, you start on a diet, and then the moment you lose the drive because life happens, and that's a very good excuse. And I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way. Life happens to all of us. And that's when you just let go. And I think dieting, the word dieting itself or the word diet actually triggers a stress response in individuals. Would you agree with this? Can I just ask just the word that, okay, I'm on a diet now actually triggers my stress response? I'm kind of being deprived of something. That's how your brain perceives it. Is that something that we feel? I think, Manik, you have said yes to that. And is that coming from the coaching sessions that you have? Would you share that?
Yeah, I actually, and it's funny because throughout my whole life, I have never been on a diet as such. Because actually, when I start thinking about that, and I do remember growing up, my mum was on every single type of diet. And I used to look at her and just feel the stress of it. So I think just the word diet for me even just invokes that.
Yeah. And I think that may be the case for some, but This is what we see with our clients regularly. And I'm not saying that start eating rubbish food or whatever satisfies your emotional cravings. I'm just saying dieting itself is a trigger mechanism. It triggers a stress response. And that's something which is important for us to recognize. So, how do we start building a plan? Let me share a story with you about Benjamin Franklin, the American president and a famous entrepreneur, inventor, and he started from very humble beginnings. Now, you would say, why are you talking about Benjamin Franklin, who was in politics, when we are talking about health and wellness? Well, this is what he did to rise from poverty to the highest position of the state at that time. He created a Franklin's Daily Virtue Chart. So, a scorecard. Remember what I just said to you just now? He said progress is more important than perfection. And these 13 virtues of Benjamin Franklin are well known. You can just find it anywhere on Google. Like, I'll just read it out to you very quickly, just for the sake of emphasizing the point that this is what he was endeavoring towards: temperance, silence, order, resolution, frugality, industry, sincerity, justice, moderation, cleanliness, chastity, tranquility, and humility. These were the 13 virtues that he would score himself against every day. Every day. And this is what I'm trying to suggest over here, that you can develop different mechanisms. Now, I'm going to share some ideas with you today, team, and this is by no way means to be prescriptive, right? You choose, you take the best and leave the rest, all right? So there are four types of accountability that you can use to build your mental muscle, all right, which is the discipline or the commitment, whatever you want to call it. Number one, there are self. So we'll talk about what are the things you can do as far as your own self is concerned, right? You are not dependent on anybody else. Number two is peers, your friends, your groups, your partners, everybody. Number three is professionals. Of course, professionals, when you see your dietitians, your coaches, your doctors, their job is to keep you on track. And the last is financial, monetary disincentives or incentives. We'll talk about that in a moment. So let's see the first one, journaling. I think if there's anything you know about me, I am a huge fan of journaling, right? And in fact, many of you may have received a journal that I have written, but if you haven't, I'll share with you. But I think when you start writing down, and I'm a little bit old fashioned here, I actually write to journal with a pen on paper. Now, there are days when I've missed it. I'll be fully honest about it. I don't sometimes get a chance to write a journal every day, but I try and write it on most days. And this is a mechanism for me to pour out whatever is going on in my mind. We all have this mental machinery that likes to be on all the time. And friends, the funny thing is that when you pour everything out of your mind onto a piece of paper, you actually realize that, gee, I can actually see what I've been worrying about. And it's really not so consequential, or it's not that big a deal, right? Can I just share, can I just ask if people in this group actually journal? Just a show of hands, a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. And you could journal once a week, you could journal once every day, or whatever. Is there anybody who likes to keep a journal? All right, no problems. Well, if you're not journaling at this stage, no problems. Maybe today might be a good way to get started. Now, we do have a journal, which is again not trying to sell you anything, just sharing with you that I created a journal specifically for our bariatric patients, which is called Creating a New You. How can you journal your way to lasting weight loss transformation? Besides this, there are digital tools available. Digital tools like MyFitnessPal. You can wear this band called Whoop. Baritastic app is something. But now AI tools are coming up. And there's one which I got to know from one of my patients actually. And she said, I'm using Zing AI. Now, Zing AI, again, not promoting any of these, but just sharing with you that you try. Some of them have got a free subscription for 7 days and all of that. And you can see which one works best for you to keep you accountable, because a lot of these tools, these apps, actually give you a reminder. Hey, you haven't exercised for like 2 days, or you haven't had a glass of water today. So those sort of reminders are there, which are built into these apps, which can keep you more accountable. But I sometimes, you want to go to that old fashioned way. Like me, I am a pen and paper guy, and I've got a wall calendar, an annual planner in my study, and essentially it's kind of right behind me at this stage. You may not be able to see it, but the thing is, I like to cross out days. I like to put circles on times which are key dates or key milestones for me. So you might need to just try different ways. Next is when it is dependent on somebody else. One of the things that you've heard me say time and time again is find an accountability buddy. This is somebody who could be a good friend, certainly not somebody who's emotionally connected to you, is what I would say, like your husband, your partner, or somebody like that. But a good friend would be nice. Somebody who's on the same journey as you, and who's got the ability to just do a daily check in, like even a text message. Hey, I did my exercise today, or I did my steps today, or I didn't binge eat today, something on those lines. And also celebrate the milestones, and also report any slip ups, because we'll all have slip ups on this journey. So, Monique, I will get you to please follow the chat box. If there's anything that you want me to stop in between, please do share with me. Because if the audience is wanting to talk about anything that I'm sharing, it'll be nice to address it now.
Yep. So I will catch up and say that Anita had said that with journaling, putting it on paper, it's decluttering of your mind, and she loves journaling.
That
And
is so true, Anita. I
yeah,
totally agree with you.
and I think also here, I love my Dr. Arun journal. So
Oh, thank you. That's nice. Whoever said that.
yeah.
The other thing is, and I know, Monique, you have started this WhatsApp group for your clients. Would you like to share what is the power of this WhatsApp group for individuals who are keen for being more accountable?
I think what I've found with creating this WhatsApp group, it originally started because I'm running the Genesis Masterclass, and it was a way for me to communicate and also for people just to connect. But what has evolved out of that is a real circle of friendship and trust where, people are um, allowing themselves to be a little vulnerable in asking for advice and questions. And of course, that group chat is monitored. But it allows people to network a little bit more. And this is what I think starts to create that accountability that you were talking about as well, because part of that also is knowledge starts to be shared. And once you gain that knowledge, you feel a little bit more confident in taking the steps towards that right direction.
Exactly, it's a bit more personalized, but it's not too personal that it starts to encroach on your privacy. But it is there for you should you have to. It's a trusted source, like we talked about the circle of trust.
Yep.
So moving on, I think the other aspect which often gets ignored is about emotional accountability, which is really about asking yourself this question, that who benefits if you succeed, or who suffers if you don't. And I think this is where, if you know that on our sort of website and our web store, we have created a why bariatric surgical procedure sheet. So it is about exploring my why. It's just a sheet, regardless of whether you want to go down the path of weight loss surgery or medications. The why is really critical. As they say, start with the why. It's a famous book by Simon Sinek, who said that, I need to know why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I think when you start to ask those questions, you become clear on understanding that if I succeed, my kids or my grandkids or whatever experiences I want to have will also feel I should say, empowered because of when they see me, they role model me, and I become a source of inspiration for them. I think in the army, they say that you got to have your team. We actually did a webinar a few days ago, a few months ago, I should say, which was on building your circle of trust. And that's exactly what I say in army. They talk about this platoon. Platoon is really when it comes to health and wellness, this is your team. And your team is your family, your friends, and I would add to that your professional team of professionals like your dietitians and coaches and all of that. Also, there is a lot of power in making a public commitment. Now, many of you may not want to do this, but you could consider this, that, declare your goals publicly. That is kind of like making it the high, putting the stakes. The stakes become really high. And the sort of relevance over here is Mahatma Gandhi said that he's going to refuse to eat sugar until he conquered his craving. Now, that's maybe an extreme form, but if you see Oprah Winfrey, now we know Oprah has had her own journey of weight issues, and I know she's a celebrity, but look at this. She's been fairly public about it, and I commend her for this because these are not easy things to talk about in public. And that's again something for you to consider. The last or the second last one is that of professional accountability, such as your coaches, dietitians, doctors, allied health providers, whichever. So making sure that you have a regular contact. If there's one thing that you have known for me, whenever whoever have interacted with me, I've highlighted that please make sure you commit to at least 12 months of follow-up. It's all included in the follow up. Just make sure you come, because the journey, the success is not just having a procedure or starting the medications. The journey is on following it up. So that's really a critical part of it. And the last one is that of monetary disincentives, which means that these are, I should say, monetary incentives or disincentives. And I will share a personal story here, which I'll share in a moment. But it could be to commitment, like commitment contracts. There are apps like Stick, STIC, which actually allows you to stick to your commitment. You can check it up, or healthy wage and things like that. The other is that of money. Every time, this is a disincentive, that every time you do something that you had committed you will not do, well, you have to give money to your friend or to a charity if you fail. And this happened to me personally not that long ago. I had made a commitment that I'm not going to eat chocolate while I'm working in front of a screen. Yes, this happened to me. Full confession today. And about 3 days ago, I found myself just reflexly, going and grabbing a piece of chocolate and walking back to my computer and continuing. This is after dinner, by the way. So that's the worst time. And I had made a promise to give $100 to this person, and I immediately transferred that because I wanted to stay committed and I wanted to be accountable. And I can tell you that is a big reminder for me that I'm not going to do this again. So I think these are things that you can sort of, you can develop your own plan. Now, talking about plan, and I won't go into details on this, and because Monique is probably going to be covering this in the masterclass, which is going to be happening in 2 weeks. But there are 4 key elements when you start to develop this plan. Have a target, have a goal, have a SMART goal, have an accountability method, which is an incentive or a disincentive. Understand what are the consequences of this. This is the why when you start. And have a tracking or a scoring mechanism which will allow you to make small progress. Don't worry about perfection, okay, but progress. You are directionally correct, and that's the most essential part of it. As it is said, that we are not held back by our limitations but by our unwillingness to be accountable. I think, friends, if there's one thing that I can say, that being accountable actually builds confidence. Would you agree with that? I feel that if I'm accountable to myself, it actually, can I get you
Absolutely.
to please share this with us?
Absolutely. So we will be teasing apart this subject, and we're just going to be diving in so that you end up walking away with real strategies that you can use. So we'll be going into our breakout rooms. We will be asking the questions. We will be making each other accountable for how we're going to move forward in life.
Awesome. That's good. So I think I'll end with this beautiful African proverb that I came across, and it's so pertinent that alone we can go fast, but together we can go far. And I think we are all here because there is something within us that causes us to go far. We want to go far. We don't want to just do this journey on our own and kind of, just sprint and then give up. So that's the whole premise around it. And I think if in order to cement that level of commitment, if you are willing, I want you to write down one accountability action that you will take this week. And if you are brave enough, I'd urge you to share it in the chat box. Well, let's see, who can do that. I'm going to write over here my commitment, and which is really around, putting together the this monetary disincentive. So I'm going to just use that strategy, and I'm going to write that over here so that everybody can see this. And I want to stick to that. So somebody's written exercise daily,
Yep.
fantastic. So I think whoever is there, we can all do better with a little bit more of what I say is commitment. And when we write it down, we are more committed. So I think I'll leave it here. Thank you everybody for coming in and joining on this webinar tonight. I want to thank Sonja specifically, and I also want to thank Monique for being my co-host over here. And we will see you. We've got one more commitment from Sonja. My commitment is to, sorry, can you read that please
To
for
notice my
us?
daily step count and increase it daily. Love it.
Awesome,
Love it.
awesome.
Set a challenge.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. Thank you, Sonia, again. And